There comes a moment in every life when the night seems too long, the mountain too high, and the silence of God too loud. But what if I told you that moment isn't the end? It's the signal that your breakthrough is near. Ladies and gentlemen, there are times when you ask yourself, why me? Why now? Why this storm? But I challenge you today to flip that question. Ask instead, why not me? Why not now? Because the greatest battles are assigned to those with the greatest destinies. You're not here by accident. The path you're on has been carved through valleys of difficulty, not to bury you, but to build you. The very fact that you're still standing, still breathing, is proof that the force which governs this universe, which planted the seed of greatness in you, has not finished his work. This isn't just a speech. It's a call to arms for your faith. And if you stay with me until the end, I promise you won't just feel motivated, you'll believe again. You'll remember that the pain was never a punishment, it was preparation. Because God didn't bring you this far to leave you. Adversity is often misunderstood. Most people see it as a wall, a barrier, a warning that they've gone too far or taken the wrong path. But let me challenge that notion. What if adversity is not a wall, but a doorway? What if it's not a message to turn around, but a marker that you're finally walking the path meant for you? In every great journey, adversity shows up right before elevation. Think of the miner who digs for gold. He labors for days, weeks, sometimes months with no glimmer of success. He faces sore muscles, discouragement, and the constant voice of doubt in his mind whispering, "Quit now." But what he doesn't know, what history has shown us time and again, is that many people have turned back just inches before striking gold. The adversity wasn't a sign to stop. It was a sign that the gold was close. Those final feet of resistance were not punishment, they were preparation. The same earth that holds your treasure will also test your resolve. Let me take you deeper. Picture the story of a single mother working 2 jobs, barely making ends meet, her dreams buried under bills, late nights, and exhaustion. Life throws setback after setback at her: illness, car trouble, a layoff, and still she gets up every morning. What she doesn't realize is that these challenges aren't barriers, they're training. They're shaping her into someone strong enough to handle the very success she dreams about. Each hardship is not evidence that she's being overlooked by God, but that she's being prepared for a future that demands strength, patience, and faith that cannot be broken by circumstance. Adversity is a divine curriculum. It teaches the lessons comfort never could. It refines, reshapes, and reveals. It removes what is weak and replaces it with what is resilient. It's not there to make you stop, it's there to make you pay attention. It's the universe whispering, you are headed in the right direction. Just hold the course. People often ask, if God really wanted me to succeed, why is it so hard? But here's the truth. If there was no resistance, there would be no growth. Look at nature. A seed must push through dirt and darkness before it ever sees light. A butterfly must fight its way out of the cocoon to strengthen its wings. If you cut the cocoon early, you kill its future. Likewise, if life came without struggle, you would never develop the strength to carry the blessings waiting on the other side. The struggle is not the sign to quit, it's the sign that you are being equipped. Faith, in its purest form, is not a vague hope or a distant wish. It is a force definite, unwavering, and intentional. Just as definiteness of purpose is the cornerstone of all personal achievement, so too is definiteness of faith, the bedrock of spiritual resilience. When faith becomes definite, it ceases to be a passive belief and transforms into an active, creative power. It becomes a mental attitude that refuses to accept failure as final, that pushes forward even when the evidence suggests turning back, that believes in a vision not yet visible. Take, for example, the story of a young man who dreams of becoming a physician, though he was born into a family that could barely afford to feed themselves, let alone fund a medical education. The odds are stacked against him. He has no financial backing, no connections, and lives in a community that believes such a dream is unrealistic. But he has something stronger than opportunity. He has a definite faith that he was born for more, and that faith does not sit idle. It moves him to action. He works long hours, studies by candlelight, applies for every scholarship, and endures rejection after rejection. He is not deterred because his faith is not conditional on the circumstances. It is rooted in the belief that what has been planted in him must come to pass. This is the kind of faith that shapes destiny. It is not blind. It sees the obstacles clearly, but it sees the outcome more clearly. It speaks with authority even when the evidence is missing. It stands firm when logic says sit down. This faith is not merely emotional, it is disciplined. It directs thoughts, influences decisions, and aligns the heart and mind with the certainty that the unseen is more real than the visible. Consider also the entrepreneur who launches a business with no guarantee of success. The market is saturated. The critics are loud. Failure statistics loom large. But this entrepreneur operates on a different frequency. Her faith is definite. She doesn't waver when sales are slow or when partners walk away. She moves forward not because the signs are favorable, but because the conviction within her is louder than the noise around her. That definiteness of faith draws in opportunities, aligns resources, and ignites perseverance that no external setback can extinguish. She doesn't hope things will work out. She knows they must because she has committed her entire being to the vision she holds. Definite faith is the spiritual equivalent of a blueprint in the hands of a master builder. It may not look like a finished structure to the outsider, but to the one holding it, it's already real. Every hammer strike, every nail, every brick laid is driven by the certainty that what they are building already exists within their mind. The body may be tired, the bank account may be empty, but the belief, the certainty remains untouched, undiminished. Every individual who has ever risen to greatness has had their story carved not in ease, but in endurance. Struggles, though painful, are not arbitrary. They are not detours, mistakes, or misfortunes. They are the very architecture of your future success. The blueprint for anything remarkable is drawn not in moments of comfort, but in the hours of discomfort, doubt, and delay. Just as an architect sketches every detail before a single brick is laid, life uses your trials as its drafting tool, each challenge forming a line, each failure a measurement, each heartbreak a curve that adds shape and substance to your destiny. Consider a man who grew up in a broken home, surrounded by addiction, poverty, and the constant threat of violence. He could have easily become a product of his environment, but instead he took every scar, every disappointment, every tear-soaked night, and used them to create the foundation for a better future. He didn't just survive those experiences, he studied them. He let the pain teach him compassion, the lack teach him resourcefulness, and the betrayal teach him discernment. Years later, he becomes a sought-after leader, guiding others out of the same darkness he once knew. His success is not despite his struggles, it is because of them. Each hardship gave him a lesson that no classroom ever could. Each struggle taught him how to endure, how to rise, and how to lead with empathy and power. Or think of a woman who was told she would never walk again after a devastating accident. The world saw limitation, she saw invitation. Through grueling physical therapy, emotional lows, and countless days where progress seemed invisible, she pressed on. Not because the journey was easy, but because the pain became part of her purpose. That struggle, that deeply personal war against the impossible, gave her a voice. It gave her authority. Today, she stands figuratively and literally as a motivator, a mentor, a living testimony that limitation can become leverage. Had she not endured that pain, she would not possess the depth of strength or the clarity of mission that now defines her impact. Your struggles are not interruptions, they are instructions. They are the chisel that carves away what is unnecessary so that what is essential can emerge. When life breaks you down, it's not trying to destroy you, it's trying to expose the foundation you didn't know you had. The sleepless nights, the rejections, the failures, they are writing the manual you will one day hand to someone else desperate to find their way. The blueprint of success is not neat or linear. It is messy, raw, and forged in fire. But every difficult experience is a line drawn toward your masterpiece, and the more intense the struggle, the more profound the structure that emerges from it. One of the most difficult truths to accept in life is that timing is not always ours to control. We live in a world that demands instant results, instant success, instant validation, instant reward. But the divine order does not function on human impatience. When your prayers go unanswered, when your efforts seem fruitless, and when every door you knock on stays shut, it's easy to assume the answer is no. But silence is not rejection. Delay is not denial. Often what feels like God holding back is actually God holding you in place until the foundation beneath you is strong enough to carry the weight of what you've asked for. Imagine a young artist whose dream is to showcase her work in galleries around the world. She paints with passion, she submits her work, she sacrifices comfort and security to pursue her vision, but for years no one notices. Her emails go unanswered, her canvases collect dust, and she starts to wonder if her gift was a mistake. But what she doesn't see is the preparation happening in the background. During those years of obscurity, her skill sharpens, her vision matures, and her identity is forged not by applause, but by persistence. Then one day, a curator stumbles upon her work, and suddenly the doors that were once locked open wide. But they open only after she's become someone capable of handling that opportunity, not before. The delay wasn't punishment. It was preparation. Had the opportunity come earlier, she may not have had the strength, the clarity, or the confidence to sustain it. Think, too, of a man who longs to be a father. He and his wife pray, plan, and wait for months, for years, but the child doesn't come. Every passing birthday, every negative test, every moment of hope followed by disappointment carves a deeper ache in their hearts. Yet during that time, something sacred is being built. They begin to mentor other children, support couples walking the same path, and cultivate a strength in their marriage that had never existed before. And when the child finally arrives, not at their appointed time, but at the right time, it's not just a birth. It's a testament to faith that refused to be shaken. The delay, though painful, was filled with divine purpose. It refined their gratitude, widened their capacity to love, and made the blessing all the more profound when it finally came. We often look at delay as a sign to give up, to turn around, or to lower our expectations. But what we forget is that when the answer is not yet, it's because something greater is being orchestrated behind the curtain of time. The waiting season is not wasted. It is a classroom in which patience is taught, trust is tested, and vision is clarified. What you call waiting, God calls working. What you call silence, God calls strategy. When you grasp this, you stop viewing delays as setbacks and start seeing them as the sacred space where your character is being carved to match your calling. It is easy to believe that your vision, your dream, your calling is entirely your own, that it began with you and that it ends with you. But the truth is far deeper. You are not the sole originator of your purpose. You are the vessel through which that purpose flows. The vision was planted in you, yes, but not for you alone. You are the messenger, the carrier, the living channel through which a greater design is unfolding. When you begin to see yourself not as the creator of the mission, but as the chosen executor of it, everything changes. Your burden becomes sacred. Your setbacks take on meaning. Your path, though hard, begins to feel purposeful because you understand it's not about your glory, it's about the impact your obedience creates in others. Consider the story of a school teacher in an underfunded community teaching in overcrowded classrooms with limited supplies and little recognition. She could have pursued a more lucrative career. She could have chosen ease. But something in her spirit told her that this was more than a job, it was a calling. Every day she poured into her students not just lessons, but hope. Years go by and it seems thankless. Then one day, a former student, now a successful leader, returns and says, "You saved me. You saw something in me when no one else did." That moment reveals the truth. The teacher was never working for her own legacy. She was a vessel of transformation, carrying light where others saw only darkness. The vision of shaping young lives was never just hers, it was given to her for the sake of generations to come. Think also of an inventor who toils away on a creation the world doesn't understand. He faces criticism, mockery, and doubt from even those closest to him. Still, he moves forward. What he doesn't fully realize is that his invention will one day revolutionize communication for millions. What seemed like a personal dream was actually a divinely appointed assignment. The sleepless nights, the financial strain, the moments of near defeat, they were not for him alone. They were the price of carrying a vision designed to uplift countless others. He was simply the one chosen to endure the labor so that others could benefit from the outcome. When you begin to understand yourself as a vessel, your mindset shifts from ownership to stewardship. You no longer carry the pressure to make everything happen by your own strength. Instead, you recognize that you have been entrusted with something sacred. The vision is not something you invented, it is something you were entrusted with. You were chosen to bring it to life, not because of your perfection, but because of your willingness to yield. And with that understanding comes a sense of humility, yes, but also of unstoppable responsibility. Because when you are the vessel, the success of the vision is no longer about your personal comfort, it's about fulfilling your role in a story far greater than your own. Pain is inevitable in every meaningful journey. It arrives uninvited, clinging to progress like a shadow, testing not just your endurance, but your identity. And yet, in that space between where you are and where you long to be, between the ache of the present and the hope of what's to come, there lies a critical bridge. That bridge is not built from talent, connections, or luck. It is built from belief. Not casual optimism, but deep, immovable belief that what you are going through has purpose, that what you are dreaming of is real, and that what has been promised to you will not pass you by. Belief is the unseen foundation that allows you to keep walking when everything around you screams to stop. It is the only force strong enough to span the distance between the wounds of now and the wonders of what's waiting. Consider the story of a man who has lost everything. His business collapsed, his family fractured, his name stained by failure. He stands in the wreckage of all he had worked for, tempted to surrender to despair. But in the quiet of his pain, a small, persistent voice rises within him. This is not the end. That belief, though fragile, though surrounded by doubt, is enough to make him rise. He begins again, not because he sees how the future will unfold, but because he believes it must. Day by day, that belief strengthens. He rebuilds brick by brick, gaining not only new success, but deeper wisdom and humility. What seemed like the death of his dreams was actually the death of his ego, clearing space for something greater. And the only reason he made it across was because belief refused to let him stay where pain tried to pin him down. Or picture a young woman facing a devastating diagnosis. Her body weakens, her energy fades, and her future suddenly looks like a wall instead of an open field. Doctors give their reports. Friends offer sympathy. But within her, belief grows not in her own strength, but in the power that created her, the promise that her life still has meaning, the certainty that there is more beyond the suffering. That belief becomes her medicine, her motivation. She begins to speak life over herself, to imagine a future beyond the hospital bed. Her belief pulls her forward first to recovery, then to purpose. She becomes a voice for others in pain, a symbol of hope for those still trapped in despair. The bridge between her agony and her assignment was not luck, and it was not certainty, it was belief. Belief does not deny the existence of pain. It defies the authority of pain. It is the quiet, defiant conviction that your story is still being written, even when the ink runs dry. It holds your hand when no one else understands your battle. It lets you keep showing up, keep building, keep hoping, even when all you have is a vision in your heart and a tear in your eye. Belief is what turns pain into process and promise into reality. Without it, you are stuck in suffering. With it, you are walking, sometimes limping, sometimes crawling, but always moving toward what was written for you before you even knew how to ask for it.